everyone. This is Derek Kwan here, Executive Director at your Lead Center of Kansas, and I am ecstatic this afternoon to have one of our great artist friends here with us. And he's actually been to the Lead Center now 3 times, 2 times with the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra with Wynton Marsalis back in 2014 and 2018, and then leading his own group as part of our Just Friends Jazz series. And that is none other than the great Victor Goines. Victor, hey man, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey man, thanks so much for having me here. It's a pleasure. I'm impressed by your memory of my visits to the Lead Center, but it's a fantastic place, so it's a great place for us to go and play, you know.
Hey man, I loved it when you were in your duo setting with Joanne Doherty. That was a beautiful gig, man. And I think her mom even came to the gig.
Her mom and her aunt.
Her aunt, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, man. Hey, so man, first off, I just want to thank you so much for your amazing contributions to the Rock Chalk Suite. And you were one of only 3 individuals, yourself, Wynton, and Sherman Irby, who wrote 2 movements in the suite. And that just goes to show your incredible skills and talent in composing and arranging. And what can you tell us a little bit about what your first impressions were when you learned about the project?
Well, when I learned about the project, I actually remember we talked about it when I was there in the duo capacity with Joanne.
That's right.
Hey, man, we have this suite coming to Rock Chalk, and I said, oh yeah, really? Yeah, okay. I'm sure it's happening. I just haven't heard about it yet.
Right.
Like our typical way of getting information for the band. But, it was extraordinary in that we got an opportunity to write for these great players. And some of them I know about. Like, I didn't know Wilt went to KU.
Yeah.
And I knew what it was. I knew who she was.
Lynette.
And Mario Chalmers. But there were so many other greats that I got to meet along the way who are still with us. And it was a great chance to be there in terms of getting ready to just put it all together. And once we got there, it was also great to go over and check out the basketball team, meet the team, get on the court, talk about what was going on, and meet the voice of KU.
Yeah, Brian Haney, Mr. Brian Haney, the voice of the Jayhawks. Yeah,
that's right.
Hey man, so you were able to write for first the great Darnell Valentine, and what I loved about both of your movements are that you really incorporated elements of basketball into your movements, and mainly from a cheering standpoint or a counting down standpoint. So talk to us a little bit about D-Up, the untold story of Darnell Valentine.
Well, let me give you some inside track first of all, man. My lady played basketball at Minnesota, and she played pro ball in Europe. So I probably had a little bit of an unfair advantage over the rest of the band because we would do a lot of conversing about the similarities between jazz and basketball. And when I was getting ready to write about Darnell Valentine, I did the research, obviously, and she did more research than I had. She said, look, he was a defensive specialist. And not only that, he was a defensive specialist who was one of the top scorers in the history of Jayhawk basketball. So
that's right.
When I put that together, it was easy to realize that part of his thing was he had a great work ethic. And he didn't just have that 1 year, he had it all 4 years, and he was an All-American athlete scholastically. So he was the epitome of a student athlete. So I had to write something that was going to really kind of project his energy.
Yeah.
And that's why I picked something that was going to be fast.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, he was not the ordinary type of athlete. So I picked something that was irregular. So the form was irregular in terms of it being a blues. It's still a blues, but it's very irregular. It's not our typical 12-bar blues. So you have to really be on top of it when we're playing it. We're trying to pay attention to what's going on inside of all of this fast tempo that's taking place.
Yeah. And can you give us a sense of how it starts out, though?
Man, it's been a little while since we've done it.
Well, no. It's everybody yelling defense. Defense.
Oh yeah, Yeah, well, obviously, yeah, right. Because
yeah, that's what I was getting at. That's
what I'm talking about. Okay, but because you think about the crowd.
Yeah.
Talking about his prowess. They always said that when the team was in a crunch, they turned to Darnell.
Yeah.
To do something that was going to be extraordinary. And while he was a great athlete from an offensive point of view, it was his defense that really stood out. So audience participation is so important in terms of what we do in jazz.
Yes.
So it was an opportunity, I thought, to get the audience involved in it with the chant of defense going on. So we started out with that, and then we kind of just, every sound that you hear inside of the piece is trying to depict the sound of defense going on. And then as we get fast, we say defense, 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 all the different halls, and constantly chanting along the way until we finally get into the main body of the work. So defense, it was important that word was very clear for those who are going to be listening to the piece so they can realize one of the great things of Darnell Valentine.
And I love the way that, just like you said, the participatory aspect for the audience is so important, and it's so intelligent, so smart to have the audience participate in the movement from the very beginning, and that just draws everybody completely into that breakneck speed tempo of that movement. And I think it's Wynton, I think, takes the first solo on it, and then I think you take the second solo, and you guys are just amazing. Amazing on that. So
well, thanks.
Thank you for that.
So because even like in the basketball game, the players are great, but what makes the players great are the people who are at the game. You see everybody talking about pump us up, give us some energy. So it's the same kind of feeling.
So let's transition then to how the shot starts out. And the shot obviously is in honor of the great Mario Chalmers. And so tell us a little about how the shot starts out.
Well, even for those of us who didn't go into sports and basketball, we all imagine being on the playground, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, making the shot. And not many people get to make the shot and celebrate it, but everybody is always dreaming of the shot. So I thought when we started that piece, it should be a countdown.
We want y'all to help us count down. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Yes. In fact, as I watched the videotape of the shot, it was a broken play, actually. That Mario scored this particular shot on, and which brought it into overtime, which ultimately you all won the game on. But the countdown is so important because I imagine that every student athlete who's played basketball has imagined being in their driveway, on the playground, wherever they had a hoop at, they would be counting down, and then they'd have that final position like Mario Chalmers had to see if the ball was going in. And that's where the shot starts at.
I love it. And then it goes right into this awesome New Orleans second line groove, right?
Yeah, well, New Orleans, there's two things we know how to do well. We eat and we party.
Hey, man, and you're in New Orleans right now, right?
I'm in the Crescent right now, yeah.
And are you eating and partying all the time right now? Or
I decline to answer that question. But I'm definitely eating.
That's great, man. Yeah.
So, but it was great to start that out. And I didn't just want to make it a New Orleans groove, though, because that would be too predictable in terms of celebratory type of thing. So what I thought about was, what form could we use? So I used the KU fight song.
Yeah.
As the harmonic basis for this particular song that we came up with for the shot. And then, as you know, at the end, you might as well go ahead and have the icing on the cake. So we played the KU fight song to close it off. And that was really interesting because the audience went crazy.
Well, man, let me tell you, Victor, that was a stroke of genius for you to incorporate the KU fight song to close out the night and to close out the record, man. Absolute stroke of genius, because you could, and let me tell you, I don't think I've ever heard the KU fight song performed any better than that. So,
well, we're definitely the first jazz group to play the KU fight song. How about that?
Yeah, no question. Hey, and man, during the recording session, you were so gracious to all of the guests, all of the folks from Kansas that were there, as well as Walt Wesley and Lynette Woodard. You're so gracious and so kind to everyone. And everyone talks about, how what a wonderful guy you are, Vic. And thank you so much for, I think you even treated Lynette's family to a meal during.
That was my pleasure.
Frame.
Yeah, I invited Walt and Lynette to go to dinner, and Walt was not available, but Lynette and her family went. And it has become the beginning of a long-term relationship. Lynette and I keep in touch. Her sister actually lives in Chicago and have come to many of my gigs as a result.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah. And she also told me that she and Darnell grew up down the block from each other as kids.
No kidding.
Yeah, they grew up together.
Wow. That's crazy. And, Steve and Chris Edmonds, they love you too. I mean.
I love them, yeah.
And then Miles and Paula Schnare, yeah, they love you, man. But man, yeah, I don't think the concert or the record could have ended any better than the way that you incorporated the KU fight song. So congratulations to you on that, and thank you so much for your contributions.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure, and we have to do a Rock Show 2.
Yeah, that's right. I was thinking about that the other day because trying to come out, pare down the list of 15 individuals. And the original list had well over 60 people on it. So I mean, you could theoretically get 3 more Rock Chalk.
Absolutely.
But man, I know you stay so busy. I remember when you were here during your duo dates here, your headlining dates, as well as when you were here for Rock Chalk Suite, you were studying for an additional PhD.
Right, yeah. I got a little bored, so I figured I'd work on this degree. Not really.
In addition to running the jazz studies department at Northwestern University, I mean, you must not sleep at all, Vic.
I don't. In fact, I'm in New Orleans, and my mother asked me once, she said, "You just got to be busy, right?" I said, "Yes, I do have to be busy. I have to be moving." And it's something in my bones that I have to be moving all the time, and I just have this hunger to want to learn as much as I can. And it's funny, as you get older, you want to learn more, man. Your time is ticking, That's the challenge of the pandemic. But for me, I decided that when I come out of the pandemic, I want to get back in the race at full speed. I don't want to start from ground zero. I'm going to be running already. So I'm trying to keep that momentum and that kind of intensity going right now.
Beautiful. That's great. So let's talk about a little bit more about how you've maintained that momentum through this whole pandemic. I mean, in addition to your PhD studies, in addition to the administration of the Jazz Studies Department at Northwestern, I know you've been keeping very busy online. So can you talk a little bit about all the activities that you've been doing online?
Yeah, when we started out in this pandemic back in March, the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra had just come off the road from a European tour. And we had barely touched down when things, less than a week later, everything was isolated and we're talking about social distancing. So it was really a shock to everybody. And I contacted Wynton and I said, "Hey man, let's do a collaborative type of piece." And because we had done it once before when we all were in the same room, but I said, "Let's do one now. We're out of the room." He said, "Well, how will we do that?" I said, "Well, it's not ideal, first of all. Let's not look at, because everybody during this pandemic is looking at what they want.
Right.
Or what they have." I said, let's not look at what we don't have, but let's look at what we do have. We have the opportunity to do these recordings. Let's just everybody record their part. And then we send it to a central location, one person, an engineer like Todd Whitlock, and he will mix it all together and we'll have another recording. Now, again, the ideal for playing any kind of music is for us all to be together. Right. But in the meantime, how can we do something? So we did this first thing called the collaborative blues.
Yes.
And it was interesting because for Wynton, he's not a technology person. That cell phone, I'm impressed, man. He's got it working. But don't go beyond that.
I won't. Yeah.
So at first it was kind of exposing him to what could happen. But as soon as he found out what could happen, he was like, "Okay, we're going to do this. We're going to do that one." And now you got Wynton, he's the kind of person who said, we're going to do this tomorrow, but he met yesterday.
Yes.
So he was immediately considering projects that we could do along the way, which ultimately became our virtual gala and other things that we recorded along the way. We did a re-recording of a piece from the Ever Funky Lowdown. Mm-hmm. We did a piece by Rich DeRosa that he had written for the gala. And we've done a lot of things in those particular type of formats. And so now as we prepare for our Summer Jazz Academy, Wynton is like, okay, everybody needs to do their videos for this. Now, he's assumed that everybody's supposed to have the technological skills, so we're all working on it. But it has been an opportunity for us to become much more informed about what the technology can do without at the same time being bound by the technology. It's supposed to help us, not make us better. Not make us worse. It's supposed to make us better. So it's been a great opportunity to utilize all that information. For me, I'm constantly kind of checking out the other things that I've invested in technology-wise that have been sitting on my desk because I haven't been able to utilize it. Editing programs. I learned a lot about video editing during this break.
Nice.
At Northwestern, when all of our other programs kind of shut down because we couldn't perform together, I took that same idea of all of the students recording their things, putting it together, mix it, and then we do a virtual concert online where we host it. And the first time, I tend to like to do things myself. I don't want to depend on people too much. So
sure,
I invested in having my own Zoom thing that can have a high capacity of people. And I remember the first time it came up, I did talk to our IT people to make sure I had it going right. But when we put this thing on, they had like 300 people came in the Zoom room that That's I was monitoring. I was like, okay, don't touch anything. Let's keep the screen right where it's at. So we ended up doing 4 Zoom concerts in jazz studies for.
I love it. That's fantastic, Vic. That's so fantastic. And, you're the type of person that can just make that happen. You've got that curiosity, that intelligence, that type of mind that'll figure it out. And I completely agree with you, what you said, that technology should be a tool that should make things better and should not be some sort of limitation or a crutch that ends up being negative. But that's a great, fantastic outlook. And before we close this out, I just want to ask a one last question here in terms of pandemic life and all this kind of isolation, physical distancing. What is the one thing that you would say that you miss the most, that you have missed the most during these last few months?
Ironically, this week I was fortunate to go catch Herlin Riley doing a video for the Jazz Museum in New Orleans.
Wow, nice.
So it was a very private event that they were videotaping. It's going to be later aired by the museum. But I asked Herlin, could he get me in? And he did. So when I got there, I didn't even get a chance to speak to him. He was on stage getting ready to go on, and we gestured to each other and all of that. But hearing the music was great. Seeing them play was excellent. But feeling the music was off the chart, man. To be able to feel Herlin in the room with him and the rest of the band, and I knew the rest of the band, but to feel Herlin's drumming take place, it just reminded me of all that we're missing during this time. And what we have to make sure we get back to. And as we get back to the opportunity to get in the same room to not only hear, see, and feel the music, we have to not settle for what COVID-19 has allowed us to do because of what we couldn't do. And in other words, recording and then patching it together was what we did due to the limitations of getting together. But now, first chance we have a chance to get together, we need to be together. And with all of this technology of cell phones and all of this and Zoom, it's great to be able to talk to you like this and see you. I look forward to sitting down, having a meal with you.
That's right.
And give you a hug. Well, we can touch and all of that kind of stuff again. That needs to be our focus, to get back to that.
Yeah, man, that's beautiful, and that makes me so happy to hear that you were able to in person experience Herlin Riley's music and feel it in you, the vibration of the music inside you. That's amazing, man. Hey, Vic, I just want to thank you so much again for all of your contributions to Rock Chalk Suite, to the Lied Center, and also just appreciate your willingness to sit down and catch up And I wish, love, happiness, safety to you and all your loved ones, man. And can't wait to the day until it's safe enough to bring you all back to the Lied Center to perform. So you are always welcome with open arms here, man.
Well, thank you so much. It's always a great opportunity to sit down and talk with you, celebrate, reminisce, all of these things, celebrate. And I look forward to getting back to that part of your campus and everything, because the community there is so rich with wonderful people, and to see all the people I've met in the past, but the people I'll get to meet in the future as well. So thank you.
Great, man. Hey, man, thanks so much. Be safe in New Orleans, man. Okay?
All right.
And please take care. All right?
You too. Do the same.